Hi, it's Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel, coming at you while the wife's away, so I'm doing this on my own. She's my tech support, so so we have YouTube channel, Hard Intentions. We also have hardintentions.com, is where we sell our T-shirts and other merchandise, and we really appreciate people that go on there and pick up some of the stuff we have for offer for sale. So my last story, I left off when I was in Soledad, and a friend of mine from SAC thought it'd be a good idea to transfer on over to Tracy. And I had left there in 1993, and I thought, well, maybe it'd be all right. My mom was living in Reno at the time, put me a little closer for visits, and that was the main reason why he wanted to go, was so he could get some visits. So we signed up. My counselor thought I was crazy, and mind you, at the time I was still taking medication for valley fever, and I didn't really think anything of it, because I got valley fever at Soledad. They never made a big issue about it, and I just getting this liquid medication, posaconazole, some new stuff. It was helping to put the fungus in remission. And now, mind you, also at the time there was a federal lawsuit that was coming to fruition where they were ordering CDC to thin out their population, to change their medical practices, and all kinds of stuff. Thought never crossed my mind. So I'm like, cool, let's go to Tracy. And when I left Tracy in 1993, they still had the swimming pool open. The yard was huge. They had bicycle races on the yard, slip and slide for sodas. They had a weight pile. It was a nice place, man. As far as prisons go, they had barbecues on the yard with live bands on holidays. It was cool. They had a hobby shop. They had 2 shifts of PIA, a morning and an evening shift. It was they had a lot of vocational programs open. Plant operations was wide open. It was the reception center took up about a third of the prison at that time. They had the gym open. It was pretty crowded, but I was always living, so I thought, what, I'd like to go back to Tracy and see what it's like, man. I mean, they had IDL crew there. They had all kinds of positive stuff going on, man. Guys could make money, live pretty comfortable. The food was outstanding. I left there in 93, and this was 2013, so the thought never crossed my mind, that was 20 years later. Soledad was pretty cool. I liked it. It was pretty uneventful. But I thought, what the hell, we'll go to Tracy. And so we signed up. My counselor thought I was crazy. He's like, hey man, you can stay here if you want to. I said, no, I want to go to Tracy, because my friend and I, we're pretty tight. He's a motorcycle rider. As a matter of fact, he's out now, and I went out to Jackson this weekend. I saw him out in Jackson. We rode around a little bit, and it was kind of cool. We ate some burgers and had a good time. I got to see him. So, we sat around prison for about, 3.5, 4 years talking about riding motorcycles together, and we got a chance to do that. And, next time we do it, I'm going to have to put that on film. But, the guy's my friend. He's a biker. He's a good dude. And this is a case of, I'm from San Diego. He's from Sacramento, but it didn't make a difference, because we're dogs, man. He used to call me Smiling Dog. What's up, Smiling Dog? Yeah. But anyway, we signed up to go to Tracy, and we were on the same bus going there. We got to Tracy, middle of the night, and wow, we got there in late afternoon, and we got out of R&R in the middle of the night, walked on down to the reception wing. And it was nighttime, so what kind of struck me was that Tracy, the hallways were empty. It was very quiet, kind of somber, and I walked by the hobby shop, It was still there, but it was closed. And I thought, wow, it just seemed different, There were more gates in the hallways. It was just different. Of course, all the cops pretty much that I knew at that time were gone. All the inmates are pretty much gone that were there at the time when I left. I mean, I don't think anyone stuck around. So I get to the orientation wing, and Tracy's notorious for having bad water. And back in the day, they started selling bottled water in the canteen. I thought that was kind of odd, that they would sell water in the canteen. I used to drink the water. I did about 5 years there. From the late 80s to 93, I went down to Donovan. And so, the water didn't really bother me. Everyone said, oh, you can't drink the water. And, I heard stories of, excuse me, about some of the cops there that worked there, 20, 25 years. They were coffee drinkers. And they used to drink, coffee. They'd make their coffee with the water right there at the prison, man. And a lot of them came down with leukemia and cancer and shit. Because that's in the Central Valley, and they spray pesticides in that valley. All around that prison is farms, and they spray pesticides all year long, every year. And that shit seeps down into the water table. And, for some reason that water is pretty bad. But, I drank it. That didn't bother me, I thought, hey, it can't be that bad, So when we got back, I went into my cell, man, and the water, I pushed the button, and the water came out of the sink black. And I'm not kidding you, black. It wasn't dirty. Back in the day, guys used to say that they would run it through a filter like T-shirt and all kinds of shit, and there'd be black shit floating in the T-shirt and the towel, and they'd do like a 5-gallon bucket, kind of filter out some of the shit. Well, I never did. I never really seen any of that. I tried doing that one time. I didn't get any particulate matter coming out, but this time, when we went in there and I tried to get a drink out of that faucet, dude, the water straight came out black, and I mean, it was nasty. I thought, man, it was bad. And so what happens is they have this great big giant thing. It looks like a rocket, looks like a missile, outside the fence. And that's a gigantic water filter for the water of the prison. When it works really good. But when it's down, the water comes out of them pipes black. And, that filter obviously goes out a few times a year from what I understand. So that's one thing right off the bat I've noticed. And then the cells, after I left Tracy in 93, they turned that place into predominantly all reception center. And they had like a permanent work crew up in L3, which is the third tier in L Wing. They had a swamp cooler up there for them guys. And, they let them have boom boxes and clothes, and they let them have it their way, because they were the workforce of DVI. And they emptied the gym. The gym was empty, no longer anybody in the gym. They didn't use it as a gym. I think they had like a Weight Watchers class in there, or some shit, I don't know. But back in the day, they had half the gym was all housing, bunks, and they had like a boxing room, some weights. But it was, all the people were out of the gym. And what I also noticed was about 1/3 of the cells there were single cells. A lot of dudes had single cells, and they weren't going to fill them up. There was 2 cops in every wing, and there was double cell that has a capacity for 300 dudes in each wing. And so I think it was down to like 180. I think they're only allowed to have 90 inmates per correctional officer. So you figure that's 120 guys that they got rid of out of each wing. Well, I thought that was pretty cool, I had a single cell on Fish Row, and so I'm kicking it, and they gave us our property right away. So I have my little boom box that I bought in San Quentin, and I'm kicking it. Here comes some kid up to my door. Hey man, you got paperwork? I go, yeah, I got paperwork. I slide in my paperwork. He's like, what county are you from? I'm like, dude, I give him my shit, I'm from San Diego, it's my name, whatever, slide in my paperwork. He comes back and then gives you my paperwork back, and then he's like, hey man, they wanted some other crap, and I'm like, Like, hey, look, man, here's my fucking hookup. You know, I give them my shit, and they were just on this paperwork, and a couple dudes checked in that came to Tracy from Soledad. They had some shady shit going on. One dude, they asked him for his paperwork. He's like, yeah, I'll get it to you, and he never did. He ended up blocking up. And, you know, he was kind of a strange cat anyway. So anyway, I go to a committee. A couple days go by. They're like, what do you want to do? I seen a counselor. I like, you know, there's no industry there. There's nothing there. I mean, there's nothing. The only thing they had was plant operations, you know. And I got plumbing skills. You know, I got machine shop skills, maintenance skills, and I got carpentry skills. So, and cabinet making skills. So, you know, I go to committee and they go, hey, you know, what do you want to do? All this shit. I go, oh, carpenter shop, whatever, you know. And they go, hey, man, this dude's high risk medical. This female counselor, she's like, hey, you're high risk medical. And I'm like, I go, what are you talking about? She goes, you're high risk medical. You got valley fever. I go, I don't know what that means, you know. They go, that means you can't stay here. And I go, why not? They go, you're high risk medical. They have, so what it is, they have, I was a level 2, so they have certain level 2 prisons are for high risk medical. If you're 65 and older, you go to a high risk medical facility. It means that facility has access to medical care. Like Solano has Vacaville right across the street, which is considered a hospital. CMC West, level 2 yard, has CMC East right next door, which is considered a fucking hospital, I guess. Plus, they would also have outside care connected to that prison. So, and really, it's a joke, man. Yeah. So anyway, I go, look, man. They go, we got to transfer you. Where do you want to go? I go, I don't want to go anywhere. What are you talking about? I want to stay here. I tell them, man, I'll sign a waiver. They go, it doesn't work like that. And the bottom line is this federal lawsuit that these guys got, which actually thinned down the population of prison and got me out of prison. It mandates, you know, that they have to do certain shit. And they're like, you can't sign no waiver, man. We got to transfer you. So they put me up for transfer to CMC West. And, you know, I knew it was dorm living. I started asking questions about it, and I'll get to that. But you know, I was kind of pissed off, man, because I just got there, and you know, me and my partner were out walking the yard, and I also ran into Rhino, who I interviewed on this channel, and I've been knowing Rhino since the early '80s, you know, and Rhino was all fucked up, you know, his hip was fucked up, and he was, you know. But he was there, man, you know, hobbling around the track with us, you know. They have a all-terrain Olympic track there that when it rains, it stays kind of dry because it's all crushed cinder in between two curbs, you know. So we go out and walk track and work out. They had a nice set of bars there, you know, and it was pretty cool. And there was a kid there, man, with Metal Militia tattooed on his side. He's a pretty good-sized youngster. He was a pretty cool dude, man. I liked him. And so I went down to the carpenter shop and I got a job interview, and they hired me. I didn't tell them I was leaving. I told them, hey, they might transfer me. I don't know. Once I got the job, I told them, hey, they're trying to transfer me, but I'm trying to stay. Bottom line is I wanted the job because basically there's no program there. They still had reception, had like half the prison. They only had like 3 wings. They had L3 was still guys been there, and then they had C wing, D wing, and like 1 or 2 tiers in J wing were open. And so the rest was all reception. So you have a split yard. Like you go out in the morning one day, the afternoon the next day, and then on the weekends it's A1A yard, you know. So which A1A is a status, a program status. It means you're working, you get full privileges. So you have weekend yard because you're a worker. And that was a program, man. You know, they had a little day room time, which was, you know, all right. So I stayed in D wing. I went down to the first tier, and I had this cellie, man. He was from Modesto. He's a few years older than me, man. He was in Tracy back in 1976, 77, 78, you know. a little bit before my time because I got busted in '79. He was in Tracy, and then that's when Tracy was rock and rolling, gladiator school. You know, white dudes had it rough there, man. Real bad. Yeah. You know, the Northern Hispanic prison gang kind of ran that prison, and along with the black prison gang. Yeah, and so whites had it bad, man. I mean, the white dudes are getting stabbed up and murdered, and you know, they would tie the grill gate shut and start stabbing white dudes, and the grill gate was tied shut so the cops couldn't get in there. It was a rough place, man, back then. So he was there. He was from Modesto. He was a good dude. He was like 60, man, and he used to do burpees all day long. He'd make them kids throw up. He'd say, "You want to work out with me?" You got to remember, this is in summertime. This is in May. And, you know, it's 100, 110 degrees. And this dude's out there 60 years old, man, banging off burpees, man. You know, he's a hard-ass old Modesto guy, you know. And so I kind of, and he was in Quentin when I was there. So, you know, we kind of used to kick it. He was my cellie for a couple of days till they figured out both of us had bottom bunk chronos, you know. Then they moved him out. Yeah, so there was a few guys there that were cool, and I got my job in the carpenter shop. I took a little test, and the guy goes, "Man, you only missed 2 questions." And I was like, "Cool," you know. He hired me, so I started going to the carpenter shop. And I had worked there for a while in the '90s when I was there, and so there was a youngster there from South Bay, Los Angeles, and he kind of, you know, he was in his 30s, but he kind of gravitated towards me. You know, we used to eat lunch together, and there's a couple Northerners in there working in there, and they were cool. They were cool dudes, you know. Everybody got along. It was cool. A lot of respect, you know. And so then the shit starts. You get to a prison, man. It's like you figure out who's there. Like I ran a homeboy from Modesto, and then my partner's there, you know, from Sacramento. We're kicking it, and then I ran into Rhino, and I ran into a couple other cats there I knew. You know, I just knew them. We weren't really friends. But then you start seeing that, you know, there's these guys that have been there forever, man, and I mean, these dudes are my age, saying that they're this, that, and the other, and they've been in this fucking joint for, you know, 10 years, 15 years. PWC, hiding out, and they're acting like they're all that, you know. Dude's got a pair of Doc Martens. The dude's my age, a few years younger, acting like he's some big-time gangster, you know. And he's been hiding out in Tracy, man. Nothing was going on there. And so I'm like, yeah, all right. So I start noticing all these dudes. There's a little short dude, man, with his head all tattooed, saying he's, you know, he's a gangster, you know, he's in a gang from the streets, you know, shaving his head, and I'm like, all right, you know, little Johnny, yeah. And so he's like pushing a line. He's like Mr. All That, you know. And I'm like, all right. I told Terry, who the fuck's this dude? And who the fuck's that dude? You know, we used to go out and walk the track and work out a little bit, and then sit on the bench, and I say, who's this dude? Who's that dude? We go out to Night Yard, you know, and eat ice cream, and you know, it was just like, who are these motherfuckers, you know? I never met any of these dudes. And so, but they're pushing a hard line on this paperwork, a couple of these dudes, and there was this dude named Russ there, right? I don't know anything about Russ. And he goes, yeah, remember me? I was here last time you were here. And I go, yeah. I go, yeah, sure, yeah. He's from Oakland. And see, when someone tells me they know me, and I don't know them, and he's acting like, you know, we were cool. And he knew me, and he was there when I was there in the 80s and early 90s. And I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah. I'm smiling, yeah. I told Rhino and my partner from SAC and this other cat, I go, man, who? And this dude says he has the yard. His name's Russ. I go, who is this motherfucker? I go, I don't know this dude. You know, and I'm like this. I would go and mingle with dudes. Hey, what's up? You know, that's what we do, you know. Guys have been down a long time, that's what you do. You get to know people, you get to know their names, where they're from, what their habits are, because you never know, they might be friends with somebody that you're enemies with. You don't know, you know. I want to know who the fuck they are, what their program is, what they're about, you know. And so all these dudes that were at Tracy, before we got there, they've been there for a long time, with the exception of a couple dudes. They're acting like they're fucking hard as a rock and twice as solid. And I told homeboy from SAC, my friend, Terry, I said, man, who the fuck do these guys think they are? And then old boy from Modesto, he's like, I don't know, man. Who the fuck these guys think they are? So, anyways, they run a really restricted program. Your wing goes to chow. It used to be you could mingle, go any chow hall you wanted. They ran your wing into the chow hall, assigned seating, and it used to be like blacks ate on one side, whites and Mexicans ate on the other. Now it's assigned seating, and me and Terry got a job in the chow hall, was serving food, just so we could get out of the house, And I was volunteering because I was waiting for that job in the carpenter shop, but Terry was assigned in there. We were eating good, having a good time, and so the chow hall was just, everything was different, man. It just had a creepy feel about it, Everyone was acting like they were just too hard because they're in Tracy. And I'm like, dude, Tracy's nothing. It's a reception center with you guys been permanent work crew here. You guys were privileged motherfuckers to be here. They only had like 50 dudes there. Mainline. Everyone else was reception. And they were working them dudes in reception out of their money for cigarettes and shit. And so, before we got there, these dudes are running phones and tobacco through the hobby. So they got the hobby shop shut down. And that's the main reason why I want to go back to Tracy. And I go to the yard, and the swimming pool's filled with dirt. They filled the swimming pool up with dirt. No more swimming pool. No more bicycles. No more nothing. The coach that used to run all that shit for us had retired. And so now you got these youngsters, man, like we never fucked off the hobby shop because that's where guys made money. And I don't care if you wanted money so you could buy dope, or if you wanted money so you could take care of your family, which I did, or if you wanted money so you could go to canteen and buy food, or if you wanted to send money to the streets to save for when you got out, whatever. People need money in prison, and that's what we use that hobby shop for, man. Whether you did woodwork, ceramics, jewelry, leather, whatever. You did not fuck with that hobby shop, and if people fucked with that hobby shop, they were in trouble. So while we're gone, these dudes fucked the hobby shop off. They were smuggling, drugs, cell phones, tobacco. I don't know how they were doing them, but they got busted before we got there. They got busted, and they shut it down. So I was kind of pissed off about that, and they had absolutely no intention of reopening it. And I talked to homeboy this past weekend, and he said, yeah, they never reopened the hobby shop. Not for artwork, not for nothing. So I was kind of mad about that. And then they bring this, one day I'm into my cell, and my door pops. And here comes this big old kid. He's about my size, but he's young. He's in his late 20s, early 30s. And he's from Long Beach. And I'm like, all right, what's up, And he comes in, he's my cell. He just got out of the hole. Like, all right, And so I said, hey, man, what are you in the hole for? Well, these dudes have been there. This kid drives up, and they used him to remove somebody. They didn't like this kid. So what they did, they sent 2 guys to remove someone. Now, removal is when they don't like someone, some shot caller. Remember, this guy Russ is a shot caller. He wanted some guy removed. So he used this kid who became my cellie and some other guys to remove someone. And so once the plan was to have this guy, if 2 or more guys jump on you in front of the cops, that's how they do it. The cops see these guys jump on you. Once it's over, said and done, that person they jump on gets removed from the yard. They won't bring you back. And they know that. These guys that think they're shot callers, mind you, all the prison gangs are still in the hole. These guys that think they're shot callers, that's what they do. Maybe they burnt you for some money. Maybe they owe you some drugs, or they owe you some money, or whatever. Or maybe they know something about you. So they want you removed. They'll send a couple youngsters after you, and then the cops will see it and they'll remove you. So that's what they did with this kid. But what he didn't know is they were going to remove the guy, and then he was going to have two other guys jump on him and have him removed. So when they turned on him, he beat them down. Yeah, so when he gets out of the hole, they put him in my cell. And so I started asking around, and I find out that was the deal. They wanted to get rid of him too. They didn't like him. And so I start talking to this kid, and he seems pretty fucking decent, man. He's like, yeah, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. He was in Afghanistan. He was in Iraq. He did 3 tours. His brother got killed over there. You know, he says, look, man, every man in my family going back to the Revolutionary War has fought for the military in a war for this country, you know. I'm like, all right, you know. And he's telling me stories about being over there that I kind of, you know, I'm not stupid. I could tell you a story about this, but anyways, I've had several cellies tell me they were in the military, Vietnam, this, that, and the other. So, I could tell that he was sincere, man, and he was serious about, you know, he had been over there. And, you know, and then he was asking me questions about, you know, do you think this is murder and this, and he'd give me scenarios about, you know, killing some goat herder because they found him hiding, you know, when they were like hiding out, waiting to do some shit, and they whacked a dude and then barbecued one of his goats. But, you know, anyway, I could tell, and I liked the dude, so he wanted some tattoo work, so I made a tattoo machine, and I tattooed his chest and his shoulders, put Layson, his name on his back. His name's Sean Layson, and I haven't been able to get a hold of him since I've been out. I wish I could. So he gets a job in the kitchen, you know, and I like this kid, and we used to horseplay, and I could tell he's kind of tough, you know, and so I liked him. I had a good celly, you know, and he's in the kitchen, and now I got a job in the carpenter shop, and I'm volunteering in the kitchen, and my partner's in the kitchen, and then all of a sudden these guys start talking about, hey, we're gonna have a food strike. And I'm like, all right, what the fuck does that mean? You know, now mind you, guys are going home that got life sentences now. I'm seeing them go home from Soledad, and I'm hearing about guys go home from Quentin, guys are going home from Donovan. I'm seeing it, you know, and I'm thinking, man, you know, it's going to have to be something serious for me to fuck mine off. You know, if I'm going to get a write-up, it's going to fuck me around. And mind you, I just got a 5-year denial for smuggling tobacco in San Quentin. When I got to Soledad and went to board, they broke me off a 5-year denial for selling tobacco, for smuggling and selling tobacco in prison, because all them motherfuckers told on me because I wouldn't give them a cigarette. That cost me 5 years. And now I'm starting to develop the mindset of, you know, hey, fuck these people. All these tough guy, lame, cocksuckers, you know, they're rats. They're ratting on me for selling tobacco because I didn't give them a cigarette. Because I don't buy their friendship by kicking them down tobacco. They told on me. So I know, in my own mind, all these guys running around Tracy prior to us getting there, when they opened it back up as the main line and making it level 2, 90% of these dudes will fucking tell on me. So there was this fucking cocksucker said he had my building, Arkansas, but he's from Sac, you know, and I'm like, okay, I'll let him think, you know. I said, look, no one calls shots on me. People don't, I go, I don't let no one tell me what the fuck to do. I'm from San Diego, I give them the spiel. I'm from San Diego, I know what the fuck to do, you know. So anyways, these guys start talking about this food strike, and you know, the blacks, they're not going to do it, and I'm already knowing, you know, because they're saying, hey, we ain't doing it, and a lot of the white dudes are grumbling about it. So I get an old boy from Modesto, and my friends from Sac, and a couple other guys, like, hey, fuck this food strike shit. So these dudes are running around the yard. The little guy Johnny, head tattooed. A couple other guys. Guy's got 187 tattooed on his face. He's got "fuck my victims," "they could rot and shit" tattooed on his forehead. Guy's a real genius, you know. But he's in there for manslaughter. So I had to remind him, hey, 187 is the penal code for murder, dude. A manslaughter penal code is not 187. You're not in here for murder. You know, he was a real fucking smart guy. But these guys are pushing this line like, hey, and they're talking about it just like other shit in the past. They're talking about it. The cops are asking people, hey, man, what's up with this food strike? And, these people are coming to me saying, hey, the cops are asking me this. The cops are asking me that. The cops ain't coming to my fucking cell and asking me shit. So they're like, what should I say? I tell them you don't know shit about it. It's the first you heard about it. And they're like, yeah. So, but we're like, hey, man, fuck all this. So, old boy from Modesto, we go to the yard and he tells one of these dudes, hey, man, check this out. You're not running shit. And I don't know what kind of fucking program you got going, but I'm not down with it. And this dude's got no tattoos except a swastika with a skull in the middle. And he tells this dude, he points to him and he goes, hey, man, all them fucking tattoos you got. But he's barking at him and he's going like this. And me and homeboy from Sac are standing behind him just kind of grinning, And he goes, you put all them fucking tattoos on you because you think they look cool. He goes, motherfucker, I killed 2 people in this prison back in 1977 to earn this fucking tattoo. He goes, fuck. He goes, if you would have been around here putting that shit on you back in the day, would have made you burn it off. I'd have gave you a pack of cigarettes and a cigarette lighter and told you to burn that shit off your body because you ain't earned it, motherfucker. Fuck you. And we had his back. There was a few of us. We're all older cats. These are all younger dudes. And, it was kind of like, hey, the old school's here. Fuck you guys ain't running shit here. And so that dude and a couple other guys, they try to get this thing going, and it fell apart from day one. The day it was supposed to happen, they ran yard, and my friend's on the yard, and this dude comes walking up to him. He's like, hey, white man, you got a minute? And homeboy posted up to him, what's up? And he goes, oh, no, it's not like that. Here's some motherfucker almost 50 years old, all posted up. Well, he was 50. And, tell him what the fuck you want, what's up? And they go, oh, it ain't like that. He's like, hey, these black dudes ain't eating, and if everybody don't do it, then it ain't worth doing. So, the food strike's over. And, a lot of us are like, my cellie, the big kid, goes, what do I do? He works in the kitchen. I said, fucking go to work. He goes, should I eat when I'm there? He goes, it's up to you. Whatever you do, I got your back, So that thing fell apart, And, this guy, Johnny, always knives. He's a little dude, little skinny dude, So I hear later on, after I left, he got a bunch of write-ups, tough guy in it and all that kind of shit, They sent him to fucking Pelican Bay. And he's crying the blues, man. I can't go there. Turns out the dude's a fucking sex offender. Hiding out in Tracy all them years with all these tough guys. Asking for paperwork from all of us that came from other prisons. He went up to fucking Pelican Bay and checked in. Yeah, and he said he checked in because they wanted him to kill his cellie. That ain't what's happening. The motherfucker had a sex crime. Because he was telling dudes, evidently, from what I hear from my partner, that, they suspected him and they were charging him, this, that, and the other. But when he got to the Bay, he checked the fuck on in. And he was crying the blues, trying not to go there. So, if you go to the pen, man, and you got some guy, acting tough, chances are he ain't. I was talking to Whack the other day. A guy I interviewed on my channel. Some of you may know him from our Saturday Night Lives. And he said one of them white dudes in a prison gang told him, and you might think it's funny that one of them dudes would talk to him, when this is when Whack was in the hole. He says, a lot of these guys want a part to play, but little do they know, there are no parts to play. It's you never know who you're dealing with in prison, and I got pretty good at realizing what kind of motherfuckers I was dealing with, who's a fake and who's a fraud and a part-time broad. You know, guys that walk around and act tough, dude, they're not tough. Guys that are tough, they don't act tough. They just are themselves. And when the shit's, you know, when it's called for, all that tough will come out. So, you know, Tracy was a shitty place, man. They just ruined that fucking prison. It went from a lifer pen. It had a good mix of dudes that were lifers and dudes that weren't lifers, and there was a lot of respect, to just a shithole, you know. So this guy, I want to say his name was Pranky. I'm not sure. He was from South Bay, but he was a good dude, you know. And we'd go do jobs together. Like we retiled one of the kitchens down at East Hall, and you know, we enjoyed working together. And he was kind of gangsterish, you know. And he asked me about Russ, the shot caller guy. And while this food strike was going on, we were going home one day from work, and we seen this guy Russ in the day room with a captain talking to a fucking captain by himself in the day room, which means he's isolated in a room. You know, we walk by and look through the day room windows from the hallway, and we see this shit. I go, look at that, you know. And so, you know, Russ thinks he's all that, you know, but he's a dope fiend, and he has access to guys on the other side, the reception center. So what he was doing was getting these guys money from the reception center from tobacco and shit, and burning them, not giving them what they had coming. You know, I found this out later. But so Pranky tells me, hey man, what's up with that dude? I said, that dude's a fucking rat, bro. He's like, man, you serious? I go, yeah. And so I trusted this dude, working with him for a month or so, eating lunch with him. He lived in my wing. I trusted him enough to, you know, when you start developing a relationship with somebody, you tell them things. And I would tell him things, you know, about people, you know, little things. And then if it comes back to you, you know you can't trust that guy, you know. So, you know, I developed a little bit of trust. So I told him, man, that dude's a fucking rat. Now this dude, you know, he had a few guys there that you know, thought he was all that, I guess. I mean, he played the part real well. And I said, you watch that guy's actions. That guy's sitting in the fucking day room with a captain by himself. You know, why is he doing that? You're supposed to have somebody standing around that can hear your conversation when you're talking to a cop. That's just the way it is. Unless you're just have an impeccable reputation and people know that you're not a rat. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. And even in that case, you should do that. So he started, you know, about a week goes by, and he's like, man, I've been watching that guy. I think you're right. I think that dude's a rat, you know. And, you know, all the guys that came there, a lot of guys that were there was just a lot of tension on that yard. And oh boy, he had Metal Militia tattooed on him. I forgot his name, man, but he was from IE. He was a good dude, man. He used to tell me about how he used to ride motocross and all that kind of. I want to say his name was Larry, but I can't remember. There was some good youngsters there, man. But you know, there was this one guy. He was 18, man. He turned 18 there. He was 17. And this guy, this shot collar guy, had him remove this dude who was in a fucking wheelchair. There's a guy, he's from SAC, but he had relatives in a motorcycle club, man, in the Bay Area. And this guy used to manufacture speed and shit. And yeah, I didn't know him all that well. I met him back in the day, you know, when he was a younger dude. Now he's an older guy in a wheelchair. The guy manufactured speed, and that shit ate his body up, you know. But this fucking kid jumped on him and removed him because these guys told him to. And so I think this kid was from SAC. He was from out of state, but he lived in SAC, you know. And I go, hey, youngster, you did that? And he goes, yeah, you know. And I go, so what are you going to do when you get out, man? And them dudes shoot you. He goes, what do you mean? So I told him, you know, a little bit about this guy that he removed. I go, man, how do you know when you get out that dude's family, you know, they're not going to kill you for that? I go, number 2, that's a punk ass move. That dude's in a wheelchair, and that whatever it is they told you about that. I told them the shit they're saying about that guy's bogus. That I knew him and this and that. And you know, I told them, hey, look, don't ever fucking take these guys. And I told them the spiel. You know, if somebody tells you to go fucking do something, you tell them, show me how to do it, and I'll do the next one. And but that was that guy Russ that had him do that. And I'm sure it was about drugs, because this guy Russ was a fucking dope fiend, you know. He was a burn artist himself, so he knew that this dude had manufactured speed, and he had action at getting shit, even though it's 25 years later. So anyway, Pranky starts telling me, yeah, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that, and I'm going, yeah. And by now they told me I was approved for transfer, you know, and I was like, yeah, all right, you know. And I hated this dude Russ, so I would stir the pot, and I'd say, hey, what about this and what about that? And then a rumor started surfacing that Russ was in there for raping and killing his grandmother. And Russ was from Oakland, and I found out later that this is actually true. Matter of fact, a guy who is a retired correctional officer watches my YouTube channels and told me he had a run-in with this guy at Soledad, and in fact he was in there. I guess he done some chores around the house for his grandmother, wanting $20, and grandma got a phone call from mom, said don't give him shit for whatever reason, so he beat grandma down, raped her, and killed her, his own grandmother. That came out later, you know, but the rumors were flying around, and guys are pointing fingers at him, you know. And so when I left, Metal Militia Man and some other guys jumped on old Russ, and they beat him so bad they gave him brain damage, shattered his fucking jaw, swole his head up like a basketball. Old boy beat him so bad he broke his hands on the dude's head, and he got a case for it. I think he got 15 years maybe for doing this. He got broke off, but and then it came out it was in fact, he did rape and kill his own grandmother. But there he was, shot caller. All them dudes checking paperwork from all these guys coming in from other prisons. 2 of them turned out to be pieces of shit. One of them killed his own fucking grandmother, and the other guy was a fucking rapo, Johnny and Russ. So it just goes to show you, man, when guys are pointing the finger at everybody else, saying this guy's no good, this guy's this guy's that, take a good look at them and see what the fuck they're hiding, And so anyway, I got approved to transfer. And one thing I knew about where I was going, it was dorm living. I had a great big Sony boom box, and now you can't get them anymore. And I knew I couldn't have it in the dorm. And I knew they had a hobby there where I was going. So this youngster told me, hey man, I'll buy that radio from you. And I told him, hey, $350. He's like, oh, well, that's too much. So I sold it to a black dude. He sent me $350 in my books. And then that dude got butthurt. I said, hey, motherfucker, I'll sell my fucking radio to whoever the fuck I want. But, yeah, I had to get in his face about that. And that dude, Arkansas, that was trying to push that work strike or that food strike shit, and, he got kind of, one thing about Tracy, too, your doors could be open all day. And you could hang a curtain over your fucking window. The cops would knock on your door and ask you, is it okay if I come in? I was just blown away. And so I told old Arky, I said, hey, check this out, dude. You don't tell me what the fuck to do. And if you got a fucking problem with that, I'm not going along with your fucking program. I'm from San Diego. If you don't like it, fuck you. I'll bring you in my fucking Smiley. I was on the first tier. My door was open. I go, we can go in my fucking cell and I'll beat you to death, motherfucker. and he kind of backed the fuck up with his little program. He was Mr. I got the building. He wasn't Mr. I got the yard. I told him, I'll beat you to death, fucking straight up. Fuck you and your program. That was just a bunch of fucking phony ass lames acting like they were hard. So Tracy, going back to Tracy, you know what they say, you can never go back. And going back to Tracy just proved that to be true, man. I was really upset with the way the place had turned out. So once my ticket got punched and I was out transferring, there was some guys saying, oh, I heard this and that about CMC West, and I said, hey, check this out, I'm going. And I don't give a fuck who likes it or not. That's where I'm headed. There was just a lot of mealy-mouthed motherfuckers there, always gossiping, always trying to get in someone else's program. I didn't dig it. But I did like Pranky. I believe his name was Pranky from South Bay. He was cool. An old boy from Modesto, and of course my friend and a couple other guys. There were some good dudes there. And Marcelli, he was a good kid. I hated leaving him. But yeah. And so I stayed there just 3 months, and I got bussed on out for my high-risk medical transfer, which is something that we can talk about in my next video. We'll continue this story. And of course, going to CMC West, I get close to the winding down of my my career in CDC, which is actually a good thing, because that brought me to here and this YouTube channel and all you beautiful people that watch it. So look, thanks for tuning in, and I want to say, all you people that watch my short video about the man who died in a motorcycle wreck, a lot of you donated money to his GoFundMe for his family, and I just want to thank you, and it means a lot to me. That's an issue that's near and dear to my heart, family man and motorcycle rider. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for going to our website and checking out our products and purchasing things. We're grateful. And listen, enjoy the summer. Whatever you do out there, stay safe and do it hard. Thank you. Thank you very much.